Okay, hello again. It's us, the Bottom of the Barrel Bros. And now we are going to be reviewing Season 1 of Stranger Things, kind of late to the party, as we were with it, but movie reviews have no bounds. I could go back and review the original Ghostbusters if I wanted.
Season 2 we'll probably do a little later on.
Yeah,
After this.
just a little later.
I mean, we're way late from this.
Well, anyways, okay. So, Season 1 of Stranger Things, Netflix's flagship show as of the past 2 or so years. And of course, I might be a little biased, but I'll try to keep my biasism, or whatever the word for that is, to a minimum.
Your input?
Yeah, my input to a minimum. I mean, not really my input, just I'll try to keep it as a wider. I'll still input my own personal stuff, but I'll keep I don't know.
Okay.
I'll keep most of it to myself.
There.
So, first I want to start with just the few downsides, I guess. Now, it's kind of hard to think of downsides because, you know, that's a kind of good thing. One thing I'll say that is that a lot of people, a complaint from a lot of people say that the show drags a lot. And I mean, I could see parts of that in season one where it seems like the show is dragging, and it's just like, I don't really like this part of the story. Can we just move back to the kids? Like, I mean, the part that was kind of like that for me was with Nancy and Jonathan whenever they're going out to monster hunt for the Demogorgon.
Spoilers.
And then, oh yeah, whatever. Spoiler alert, even though we already started talking about it. Whenever Nancy and Jonathan go monster hunting in the woods to try and find the Demogorgon or whatever it was, because they didn't know it was Demogorgon at the time. But they go hunting for the monster in the woods, and then Nancy finds the hole in the tree, the portal, goes to the upside down. Nah, I don't know why, but that part, every time I go back and watch Stranger Things, it just seems to be like it takes forever and it doesn't add very much. Like, I know why it's there, I get why it's there, it's just, it feels like it's dragging.
It feels like it's not needed.
Do you know any parts of the show, of the season one of the show, feels like it's dragging?
I don't know.
Don't know. So it's gonna be kind of hard to do because Dawson doesn't even remember half of it.
Which I don't. Like, he goes and rewatches it, and I don't.
It's a lot longer than it, I'll say that.
Especially since it's broken up into
a lot longer than a feature film in theaters.
Okay.
Anyways.
I feel like they could have done a little less talking. I mean, the conversations had a place in there because, it led up to something, but I feel like they could have done a little less of that, and,
Yeah.
Kind of what he just went
to. Yeah, kind of, but, I mean, one other thing that people are kind of getting at, they were kind of getting at with it a little, is that it takes place in the 80s, and of course, people are going to be a little biased to the 80s if they like the 80s, or they're born in the 80s, or they like stuff from the 80s. I like stuff from the 80s, so that's where a little bit of my bias comes in. I also just like science fiction and horror stuff. But anyways, so some people are kind of iffy to that, and they think they could have done a lot better with showing the themes and going a lot better with the sort of 80s vibe it gives off. I mean, I don't have a problem with it personally. I mean, I'm kind of biased, as I've said 15 times now, but it's kind of whatever, some people will get annoyed by it, some won't.
So there's types of people like you hear about when you watch these shows. One type is the one who likes to point out all the bad stuff and what could have done better and stuff like that. And other people that just watch it to have something to watch and to entertain themselves and like to keep stuff to themselves.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying, where people who just watch it to find criticisms, but critics have been known to be rude and be kind of mean about everything. They nitpick, and they only look for things they don't like. But that's kind of the job to be a critic, is you have to criticize. And you can't be a critic if you can't criticize. You have to find bad things, and everything is going to have bad things about it, whether how good it is or how biased you are. And that's what I'm saying with, well, the bad things that I've said so far. Now, good things, I could get into a lot more, because obviously I like the show. I like the characters that build, the relationships, I'll talk about it more in season 2, because that's whenever more relationships develop. But, obviously with Mike and Eleven in the first season, and with the whole love triangle with Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan, and
like
with Joyce and Will seeing him in the lights and stuff.
Like in the beginning, where the first season, where Mike was sort of iffy about Elle and how he didn't really know, how all the other boys were not so sure about Elle, and he's like trying to stand up for her. And then there's also parts where he was sort of iffy on her too. I feel like season 1 was the one where they try the, Mike and Elle thing.
Season 1, to me, I see season 1, I like it a little more than season 2, just because it came first, and sometimes you just can't beat the original, but we'll get into season 2 later.
Okay.
But for season 1, okay, what you were saying with how they established a relationship with Mike and Elle.
How they try and start
Yeah, I see season 1 as a bit of a starter, like, to get everything set up so that they can then build onto what they already have.
I feel like that's most shows too.
That's kind of what they did with season 2. I won't get into too much, but they evolved from just the one monster to the multiple smaller versions of the monster, and then the even bigger monster than the one monster. We'll talk about that later, though. Another thing I liked about it, of course, is the child actors. I said about it, I'll say it again here, they give kids a good rep in Hollywood and just business history, The kids, they always get flack for being, oh, you're a tiny little kid, you can't do anything.
Like, a long time ago, they pretty much based shows around adults and stuff. I mean, yeah, adults are good, but I feel like the child actors, what gets their lives to actually start going.
It's really cool to see kids having a career in Hollywood big time, like Finn Wolfhard and Gaten and the others. Really, it's kind of cool because, obviously I can relate with them being in their age group. It's kind of cool to see these popular people that I like grow up alongside with me and see how they go. I mean, most child actors are known to have a bad reputation. I mean, just look at Macaulay Culkin. He was terrible after Home Alone when he grew up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's doing better now, I think, but
after Home Alone, he started going downhill with the drugs.
Yeah.
And stuff. And then, later on, he started picking he started letting go of drugs and stuff, which I feel like, you know,
I
it's
mean,
helping his career.
yeah, let's not get into Kevin McAllister right now, though. Well,
Okay,
yeah,
anyways.
okay. I was trying to get to
Yeah.
a point that child actors have a bad reputation of growing up and becoming drug addicts and stuff like that. So I kind of, growing up alongside of them, I just hoping that,
They don't go that.
yeah, they don't go that route.
'Cause
And I mean, Finn and them, they all seem like nice kids, so I really don't see them doing that, but you never know.
I'm kind of worried about Jonathan, because, you know, if you haven't heard in real life, what was it, after season 2 or
It was the release of season 2.
yeah, after the release of season 2, he started, you know, doing drugs too, and he got, what was it, deported back to England, and they wouldn't let him back in America. So I don't know if they're gonna have him ready for season 3 or not.
No, I don't think he's actually doing drugs. I think it was just a mix-up or something.
Yeah,
But I mean,
you can't.
Sort of, but I don't think he was actually doing drugs. He wasn't addicted like Macaulay Culkin was or anything.
I guess,
but that does kind of hinder the image.
I guess they're the only ones that really know what happened. I mean, we can't judge since we don't actually know what's true and what's fake.
Anyways, back to the show itself. Another thing I really liked is, I mean, it's kind of a wide topic to talk about, like the world that Stranger Things creates, you know. This isn't aliens from some another galaxy. It's getting into, like, some theoretical stuff, you know, with the flea and the acrobat, and, you know, how they use the D&D board to represent the Upside Down. And then, kind of, it's cool to see how the kids use the game that play D&D to cope and interact and classify things happening that you can't really understand. Oh, like, this, like, the Demogorgon in D&D is, of course, a big scary monster. And, you know, that's what the Demogorgon, the actual monster from the show, the thing of the 4, or actually 5 opening parts, I'll just call it the monster. But, so the monster from the show, they call it the Demogorgon because they were playing the game before Will got kidnapped, and that interacts with how they see everything that's going on. You know, how they call Eleven the mage of the group, and how, I mean, Will is also, he's called Will the Wise, and you know, how his decision kind of reflects on, oh, he decided to cast Protect over Attack. That's kind of, it says stuff about how kids see things differently than adults. But also, besides that, just the world they create. As I said, it's not no aliens with the big heads and the black bulging eyes. It's like, it's creative stuff. Now, of course, it has inspirations, of course, from Alien and stuff like that. But
it's like a mixture of a lot of things.
It does have some really cool, natural made stuff that they made themselves. I mean, the Upside Down, for one. I haven't really seen that too much in any other stuff. With the whole other dimension, and it just opens the whole world to new possibilities. Like, what happened to this other dimension? Why are there no humans? Why are these huge tentacles everywhere? What is this monster, you know? That's kind of opened up in season 2 more. We'll talk about that.
I just like how they're really creative, like you've been going on about. I mean, I don't know how else they could.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty much hit every single thing you could probably think of.
It's kind of hard to talk about Stranger Things, as I said. It's a lot more than just a movie seen in theaters. You know, it's a lot more than, you know, an hour and a half, 2.5. But, you know, we're trying our best here.
It's definitely something, like, if you're a little late on the show, definitely something you could just sit in your room and watch hours and hours and hours and not get tired of.
I mean, okay, that's another, I guess, complaint they could have is that it gets. I've already kind of talked about how it can get. It can lag on at times, but sometimes. I mean, I've heard some people talk about I don't like how long it is. Like, I've heard not much at all from like one or two people that like, oh, why isn't it just a movie? Like, why does it have to be a Netflix thing? I mean, there's a whole lot of ways you can get into that, but you know, stuff with Netflix, stuff with the Duffer Brothers, the actors. It's a whole new can of beans, can of worms. A whole new can of worms to open. But overall, okay, so I talked about relationships, you know, creativity, how the kids see the world, but the characters themselves are cool. You know, you have some of it based off of true events too, like, you know, with Eleven and the Montauk story, and just MK Ultra also with the Russian scare of the old times. Ooh. So with the tension between the Russians and stuff, they were doing experiments to try and spy on the Russians, and that's obviously partially called the Montauk Project, the abandoned research they did in New York, where eventually, crazy. Sorry for the interruption. I got a call. As I was saying, you have the Russian tension between America and Russia with the Montauk Project, the abandoned research labs in New York, and that's obviously where Eleven got her inspiration, but also just from the general sci-fi idea of telekinetic abilities, and there being something beyond. I like that it has parts of it that can be based off of true science, as I said, the Flea and the Acrobat and the Montauk Project. But I like that, as I said, it's also creative. And I'm kind of striving for words here. I don't know what to talk about. Because, I mean, like, it's a great show, always has disadvantages, but I just can't think straight. And that's not very good for a movie review.
Okay, so in some shows, like cop shows and whatever, the cops, it's themselves are, they barely do stuff to the movie or show or whatever. But in this one, Hopper, which is obviously state cop and stuff, I feel like he had a lot of impact in this show. I mean,
now,
I kind of
Hopper is another rabbit hole of a character to get into because, you have his whole backstory with his daughter that died of cancer and stuff like that, but I can see where you're going with, like, because, yeah, in most shows, the cops are like, what are you talking about, you crazy kids? This house ain't haunted.
They, like, barely...
And, like, Hopper thinks that at first. He's like, oh, yeah, whatever, But then, obviously, we see that whenever he finds actual evidence, something shady's going on.
In, like, these other shows, they appear, they say what they think, and then they're kind of like, oh, whatever, done with that case. Hopper is, he's the one to actually go and doesn't really want to stop on what he's trying to look for and figure out.
Yeah, that's what I was getting into, like, it's okay, but, so, what he was saying, yeah, so, most cops like, yeah, whatever, I'll take a report, and they leave, but, Hopper, he finds out stuff that gets going on, and he uses clues, he's like, he interacts with the kids, and he goes, he goes into the lab and tries to figure stuff out by not so conventional means, but you know, he's kind of an Indiana Jones type character. I see him described as an action man. And just the show has a lot of relatability because, you know, what would you do if you were thrown into this crazy world, you know, where there are stranger things that you did not previously know about? Roll credits. But aside from bad jokes, yeah, I mean, at least it's not relatable. You're not gonna have some flower-mouthed monster come out from a portal and then take you to the upside down. That's not gonna happen in real life, but I mean, we don't know that. But probably not. So, I mean, but what I'm coming from is, yeah, how would you act in the situation? It's cool to see how everyone's like, well, what are you talking about? No, I mean, well, like, it's kind of like how, you know, of course, the kids are introduced to the whole world in the shape of meeting Eleven in the woods, and Joyce with, you know, the lights and seeing the Demogorgon in the wall. But, you know, just for example, Nancy and Jonathan don't really get introduced into the whole supernatural concept until later at Steve's party. Because, you know, Nancy, she's upset, she goes by the pool and she's missing. And then all of a sudden, Nancy gets roped into this even more. And then Jonathan taking pictures and stuff. It's just a whole thing, like, to see how the characters interact with getting to know this whole new world. I feel like I'm kind of going over and over in circles, so I'm gonna wrap this up here. Dawson, what was your favorite character from the show?
Probably either Steve or Hopper. Because, like I said earlier, Hopper, about how, you know, he doesn't give up on what's wrong, and he wants to keep going. And then Steve, obviously, because I kind of like that bad, not like bad as in horrible, but like bad as in bad guy type characters. So, which I think he really played off in this first season. What about you?
Well, okay, I'll improve on what you're trying to think is like. You know, Steve in the first season, of course he's kind of like the bad guy, like, yeah, I'm the cool guy. You're a nerd, I just want to get in your pants. Yeah. But, I mean, you kind of see that once, also he is introduced to this world of like, okay, I actually like this girl, but there's some weird crap going on. So I'm gonna have to get involved with this, and you see that more in season 2, where he interacts with the kids more, but we'll talk about that obviously with season 2. So you can see her like, you know, at first he's a bad guy, but then he changes for the good. And then with Hopper, he's also one of my favorites, because, like you said, for the fourth time, yeah, blah, blah, he's not like other cops. He sees clues, he goes after it, he finds stuff is wrong, he actually goes with it, and tries to find out stuff. Like whenever he's tearing down his whole house trying to find the security cameras and microphones and stuff, he knows stuff is up, so he looks around, he doesn't just sit there and be like, yeah, whatever, I'll take a report. But also, I just like his character, that he's moody. I like moody characters in shows, because I can relate with them. He's like moody and snarky, but in a good way, you know, like how whenever you first meet him, and you get that quote, that good line, whenever he's talking to his receptionist, the sheriff's office, the police department in Hawkins, and you know, he says, "Mornings are for coffee and contemplation." I like that quote, even though I hate coffee. It's absolutely disgusting.
I agree.
But I feel like that just describes part of his character. You know, whenever you first see him, he's a a small town cop. He's from the big city, would move to a small town, like, oh, I could be doing better things than this, but I'll do it. I like that. I like how he grows over the show, too. How he gets to know Joyce, you know. Not really in a romantic way, of course. Oh, whatever.
I do.
I'm sure a lot of people wish that. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever, but... Yeah.
Okay, but anyways.
But, yeah. But my favorite character, overall, would have to be Dustin. Just because I relate to him. You know, he's bigger. He's not really fat like me, but he's bigger than the rest of them. He's kind of like the outcast. You know, I won't talk about it in really season because you see it a lot more in season 2.
Like the smart type, you know.
He's like, yeah, okay, I'll say that. He's more the nerd. Like, he knows the stuff. He knows how to get out of situations. Yeah, I know how to get out of a lot of situations.
Science and stuff.
He's good at science. I'm decent, I guess, at science.
Good at science.
Sometimes.
Compared to everyone else.
I guess. But, anyways, I relate to his character. Not by only that, because he's also a moody character. As I said, I like moody characters. But he's moody in a more kiddish way. He likes to cuss. I mean...
You?
I like to cuss, but I'm not going to do it on the channel. It's a Christian server.
I'm kind of the one that does the cussing on this channel.
Yeah, Dawson.
I haven't done it in the past few videos. But anyways,
we're working on it. It's like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin. So, what was your favorite part of season 1?
Jeez, come on. Probably when they do this, like, bring in Elle and stuff. Kind of thought that was, you know, I liked it.
Once again, kind of hard to pick a favorite part, but, obviously the ending, one scene that I really liked is whenever they have the confrontation with the secret agent lady and her other intel agents, and, you know, the kids are standing back there astonished, like, oh my gosh, they have guns, what are we gonna do? Then 11, he just crushes them from inside out, and it's really cool to see them just, like, start bleeding and twitching and die. And I mean, that's a really weird way to say it, but it's a cool scene. You get to see how awesome 11 really is, you know. This isn't a kid to be messed with.
I like the part where they're in the road, and there's a van coming, and she just, like, uses the force, and just...
The Force. What is this,
I'm
Star
not trying...
Wars?
Don't get mad at me or anything, but I honestly hate Star Wars. But anyways...
Nothing to do with this.
Yeah. Anyways, about what I was trying to say, whenever she uses her powers to flip over the van so, you know, it doesn't hit them. That's one part I liked also.
That's also kind of like what I was saying about the part where she kills the agents. You know, it really just shows how strong she really is. You know, the feminist battle about, all these hot ladies, there aren't any strong females. And I will agree with that, kind of. Because, you know, a lot of people, they just like, ooh, hot lady, instead of kind of just...
Jacob.
I guess. Instead of giving them more character, they just give them more appearance. But another part that I really liked was seeing the kids' arguments and how they get over it, you know? Like whenever at the crossroads and 11 deters the compass to save them, and at the part where Troy and I forgot the other bully's name are at the quarry at the cliff, and they have Dustin at knife point, and they tell Mike to jump, and he does. It's really cool to see, like, he's such a dedicated friend that he would jump off a cliff to not have Dustin suffer that. And, you know, you don't see very many friends like that in the real world today. No, I'm just kidding. But, I said I'm just kidding.
I would.
But, anyways. And then, of course, 11 comes to save Mike. So, it's kind of like a mutual thing, you know. Oh, I'm gonna do this to save you. Oh, but I'm gonna do this to save you. I mean, I don't know why I did that to the way off the camera. I could have just did it here, but whatever, you get the point. And so, what would you give out of 10?
8.5.
I'd give it a 9.
Yeah.
There are some things, of course, you
Yeah.
can't like about it.
That's what I kind of.
I mean, there's some things about it, of course, you're not gonna like, but
Yeah.
there's just a lot of charm to it, and I think that Netflix has a pretty good thing going. And it seems a lot of people were disappointed with season 2. I wasn't. We'll get into that. But, yeah, I give it a 9.
About season 2, I feel like we'll have a lot more to talk about in season 2.
Yeah, because we more recently saw
Yeah.
that, and
It has more of the.
kind of.
Yeah, you know
We'll
what
be
I'm
able
talking
to compare more now that we've already talked about season 1.
about. Yeah. Because, like, we're leaving a little stuff out. And we won't have to do that.
We're leaving some stuff out so
Yeah.
that we will actually have a lot more material to cover in that video.
You'll probably hear a little more of what we just said in the next video.
Yeah, as if you weren't repeating a lot already.
Yeah.
You know, Hopper is good, Hopper is good, I'm biased, Hopper is good, I'm biased, I'm biased.
We kind of have that problem.
Yeah,
with
we have that problem. We're new to this whole YouTube thing. But that's it for all.
I don't know.